first, I want to go to Randy Clark, Breitbart News, Texas border reporter, about a new report of secretive flights that are happening across our country. Randy, how are you, sir?
Good morning, Mike. How are you today?
Really good. Great to talk to you. But actually, before we do that, I want to play this clip for you. Here it is. These are the gals on MSNBC. This would be on Super Tuesday election night.
If you look at some of these exit polls, I mean, I live in Virginia. Immigration was the number one issue.
Yes.
I mean, again, these could change in Virginia.
Well, Virginia does have a border with West Virginia. Very, very contested area.
Build the wall.
They're mocking the idea that Virginia is not an actual border state. And Bill Malugan said 2 weeks ago, in Virginia, an illegal alien from Venezuela was arrested and charged with sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl. He had crossed illegally in El Paso on September 2023 and was released into the U.S. by the federal government. What do you make of that, Randy?
Well, I think that's probably one of the only tactics that the left has left is just to really poke fun at things. And if it doesn't impact them specifically in their community, on their block, with one of their relatives, they'll continue to do this. This is the only way to get it out of the minds of folks that maybe independent voters may not be in those sanctuary city and sanctuary state areas where this is having a more dramatic effect. I think this is just their tactic of trying to make this issue sound like it's really no big deal. But that's really all they have left. Because if you look at what the mayors of New York and what Denver is saying, they've had it. They are tapped out. Their taxpayers are suffering. Their city resources are being drained. Their American citizens and residents are losing services. So it really isn't funny to them, but I just think it highlights how out of tune some of these leftist media personnel are.
And that's right. All right, tell us about this flight program that's been going on.
Well, so you hear a lot of people saying this is secretive. Well, the only secretive part is who these people are and where they are going. The program itself is absolutely not a secret. They have advertised this. There's 30,000 per month that come in under this program. It's mostly Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans. What we can assume to get past the secrecy is they're going to be going to the same cities that everybody else is, because it's really the same category and demographic of people. Bottom line is they're people who don't have a legal right to come to the United States. And through the abuse of this humanitarian parole, this administration is letting through 520 some odd thousand every year. It happens every day. And the sponsorship can be a non-government organization, or it can be individuals. It can even be a person who was paroled in themselves. But there isn't enough people in the government to vet these people properly after entry as well, because no one's going to go check, hey, are you really supporting that family you said you were going to support? And the answer is no. They're right along with everybody else in New York, drawing from public benefits, and nobody's double-checking this. And even though it's a temporary program, you can bet these folks aren't going to voluntarily exit the country when this parole is over if they haven't already qualified for some other relief mechanism like asylum. So this is a horrible abuse. That's what's not secretive, is this is a horrible abuse of the parole system, which was generally reserved for children that need cancer treatment that have sponsors, and they immediately exit after the treatment. People who are witnesses in significant criminal cases against cartels and organized crime. It wasn't meant for this, and it's not an individual need or significant public benefit if you can establish a number on it. You're not looking at the individual. If you say, I can do $1,450 a day on CBP1, I can do $1,000 here a day on this program. So the two programs alone, CBP1 and this one where people are flying in, they're accounting for almost double the entire number of illegal aliens apprehended by the Border Patrol in Trump's last year. That was 400,000. This is, over 900,000 are coming in right now. These two programs are accounting for close to 900,000 per year.
Wow. Yeah. So tell us about, I want to go a little more into the flying. So are the flights from other countries into America?
Yes. They're from other countries into America. They're primarily those it's just those four nationalities. Cubans.
How do you get on one of those flights?
You file a petition asking for the humanitarian parole. It comes to CIS, the Citizenship and Immigration Services portion of DHS. They give you a date after they receive your paperwork. They do not vet every single one of the financial documents. Somebody's promising to lend financial support to this migrant or this migrant and their beneficiaries, their family members. They're flown in wherever the sponsor can afford to bring them. So that tells you it's probably going to be in New York, a Colorado, places that we're seeing, a Los Angeles, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, places where there's large communities, large economic opportunities for folks to come in and get benefits. So it's going to mirror what's happening with people crossing the border illegally and being allowed to enter, at least by the Border Patrol there.
So this is different than, I think we've seen videos lately of illegal immigrants in airports flying. That sounds like that's within America, right? They'll be in like a Texas airport or wherever. I saw a bunch of videos of people in the San Diego airport. Actually, a county supervisor in San Diego, Jim Desmond, he was in San Ysidro, which is on the border, talking to some guy from Guinea. And the guy from Guinea was asking him, where's the San Diego airport? and the supervisor's like, what? Like what do you want to do at the San Diego airport? And he's like, I couldn't speak English really, but so like, but those are internal, those are domestic flights, right? So this is from the other country into America.
That's correct.
What a nice shortcut that would be.
Yeah, that's why we don't see them, because they are coming spread across the country to wherever their sponsors are. So they're going to be landing at LaGuardia, they're going to be landing at JFK, and that flight could land with 20 on one flight right now, and it could be 10 on another. So you're just not going to see them. What people are seeing on the border is those are the ones that are released to pursue their asylum claims, and they're at the San Diego airport, they're Tucson, they're San Antonio. They're at the border airports in Phoenix. You're going to see them more commonly because they're going to come in large numbers, and they're domestic flights.
What is the Texas law that the Fifth Circuit put a stay on? What is that law? What's the latest with it, and is it going to the Supreme Court?
So the latest was the Fifth Circuit Court had allowed it to proceed, and it was going to go into effect on March the 9th, a little bit later than when it was planned. And they overruled an initial judgment by an Austin federal judge that said the law could not proceed because of the supremacies.
That's it. Okay. All right, so I want to be clear. So we have the law, and we'll go over the law in a second. So is the law that's right? An Austin judge, like the day before, said no, you can't do it. And I didn't get the next part of the story. So the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals said no, Texas can do it?
Yes, they said it can do it, and that lasted a day. It was taken up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled that no, it cannot go into effect. They put a pause on it until March the 13th. So we can assume
what happens on March the 13th?
I'm assuming they're probably going to decide to take the case up and continue that stay. That's what I believe is going to happen. This is definitely going to end up in the Supreme Court. There's just absolutely no doubt.
Oh, wow. Okay, what is the law?
So the law is going to allow local and state police to arrest folks who enter the United States illegally, and it's also going to allow them to prosecute the migrants for that crime. And during the prosecution, the migrant will be allowed to voluntarily, be removed at the conclusion of the case, and they'll factor that into the sentencing for the crime of illegal entry. So, that's very similar to what Arizona tried to do that the Supreme Court already struck down. And Arizona's law, SB 1070 in 2010, was going to make illegal presence in the state a crime, and also obtaining employment illegally a crime. So if you were a migrant and you didn't have authorization from the federal government, you could go to jail if you got a job. They struck down those two provisions and one other. And it was basically the same court we have right now. Chief Justice Roberts was in on that decision. Elena Kagan had to recuse herself because she had heard it in earlier court actions before that. So she's going to be able to hear this. We've got Ketanji Brown. I think they're going to side with, what they did in 2012 when they finally heard that case. I think they're going to overturn it. No doubt.
Really? No doubt?
No doubt. I don't think this goes. And one of the things to consider is if they allow this, remember, the law that they say federal government has supremacy over is the Immigration and Nationality Act. And what that is who can come in and who can't, who can become a citizen and who can't. So if they allow the states to meddle into that law, you could have a state saying, we're going to decide who becomes a U.S. citizen. If you come in through the California border, just live here for 2 weeks, be a nice person, and we're going to put you on a path to citizenship.
Well, so that's different, though, right? So naturalization is obviously what, as you said, how you become a citizen of the country, and that is explicitly in the Constitution.
But this law also has admission as well. So it's not just nationality; it's who is legally admissible and who is not. So they could meddle into that. But the decision by the Austin judge was very lengthy, and it went into the federal government's impact on the greater good if they don't have say over immigration is going to affect national security issues when they deal with Mexico and other countries. It's going to maybe set a tone for those meetings that may not be favorable to the rest of the United States. So he went into great detail. I just think it's going to mirror that decision from Arizona where, they clearly said the federal government has supremacy on illegal immigration matters.